Hello everyone and welcome to the Purple Ray channel. Today we'll be showing a short film called Death, Light and Time. I made this video a while ago in 2019 and then the three of us, Terry, June and myself, Desiree, we will be discussing the subjects from the film, which will be Death, Light and Time. So I'm just going to share my screen now so we can watch the film and then we will have a discussion. So just give me a moment. So where is it? Can you both see this, June and Terry?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, good. Then I make this bigger. It all started on the day I died. I lie on the beach. The sun is shining. I think I see someone leaning over me. Kind of glowing almost. More like an astral being. Light blue, glowing and benevolent, like a guide or an angel. To help me transition, maybe. The being wants me to concentrate on it, so that I just focus on it, so don't think of anything else. Just go with it. So we've just kind of moved up and it's kind of light blue in the sky and there are lots of stars, but it's not night, it's light blue. It's kind of shining and glowing blue, more like sparks, the sky. The next time I died was different. The first thing that came into my mind was a meadow. I lie in a meadow and I feel older and more tired. I'm very aware of it. It feels like I can leave my body whenever I want. I mean, permanently leave it. And I'm just preparing for it. And I don't need to even focus. There's no one needs to come and get me like before. I just can go whenever I want. It's my choice because I had the training of focusing my life. I can go when I want. That's what I do. I just consciously go. And on this meadow, when I felt my time was coming, I just went out of the city into nature, to a meadow, to die. Then I met the light. I just see light again. This time I see kind of the shape of a person in kind of robes
and the head is all light. I can't even see the face. It's so much light coming from that person. But it's barely a person anymore. It feels like it's appearing to me as a person, so I can relate to it. But actually it's just light. I'm just meeting light. I'm allowing light rather than focusing it or forcing it. It is an allowing to meet light. Light is already there. I don't have to produce it. I'm meeting another light source. I think this being is just basically light, but just gives me the impression of a rope, so I can relate to it as a person, that I don't just mistake it for just light and don't know what to do with it. It is a person, it is a being, an entity, rather than just a happenstance or I don't know. It has its own consciousness. I didn't produce it, not a group of people meditate and making it, but it is its own and it is meeting me. And it's greeting me, I feel, and wants to impart the light on me as well. And it's close to me also. Yeah, it's like physically, it's not in the distance, it's just standing this person in front of me, like a bit more than arm's length, and it's indistinct. I don't know where I am. It's not clear where I am. Actually, spatially it feels beyond space. It's not totally dark there, but I just see the light and I don't know what's around. There's nothing else, it's just light. I think it's trying to communicate with me. So I can be like that too. It doesn't speak really in words. It's more like, yeah, to the presence, and the arms are kind of a bit open. It's like benevolent giving, and it just wants to impart this on me and encourage me, I think. I feel it's kind of, I'm melting slowly, to it. But it's kind of hard to integrate, to believe almost, it's, I feel I cannot open up in one go to it. I just have to let a little bit more in and then integrate it each time.
And where I met the light, there is no death, there is no time.
There is no last day. No, because it's not a lifetime. Beyond life, beyond incarnation. It just appeared to me in such a way so that I could understand it, but it wasn't flesh and blood, and I wasn't flesh and blood. So I remember that. I am that too, and then be that again. But I think the message is to be that in a body. That's why it appeared to me in a body. It's easy to be light when you are out of the body, but it's difficult when you're in a body. But it is possible, and it was saying to me that it is possible. Remember this when you are in a body. So this is beyond time. I don't know when it is even, there is, there is no linear point in time when I can say this happened, because it happens, it is not in the cycle of time. You step out of time, and that's when you meet the light. And when you're in time, then you're incarnating. You're bound by time. Time only exists for people who incarnate. It is linear, yes, but it can also be circular. It's a line that meets itself again. There can be cycles and just straight lines as well, lines of evolution. All this is happening at the same time. It is possible that you experience a cycle, and it is also possible that you experience linear time without a cycle, and you can jump out of a cycle. You can leave a cycle if you want. You can also go beyond time.
Okay,
Beautiful.
thank you. So I was thinking maybe I start to talk a bit about the background of making this film, and
Yes.
please feel free to ask questions, and it's a discussion. So I went for a past life regression in 2019, and it was the quantum healing method that was invented by Dolores Cannon. It was a practitioner in London, but so that was that method, and that takes a long time. It takes several hours. I think I was there a good 3 hours with the practitioner, because she got me into a really deep state. And she guided me to 3 lifetimes, basically. And what usually happens is they first, whatever lifetime comes up that may be relevant for, or was relevant for me at that time, to learn something. So she asked me first what I see, and then in each life we would go to the last moment of that lifetime. That's why it's about death, because I experienced different deaths that I describe. The first lifetime was actually in the body of an insect, like an ant-like insectoid being, but intelligent being. And the funny thing is, if I look back, it wasn't unusual for me at all to be an ant, I mean, an intelligent life form. So I looked down and I saw myself as an ant-like being, but that was completely normal, So, yes. I mean, when I look at it now, it's kind of weird to think of that it was normal for me, but it was. And what I learned in that life was I got separated from my hive, from the other ants, basically. They were all gone all of a sudden. And I found myself on my own. This is not in the film, but it was very important for me. It was like individualization happening there. And
but heartbreak at the same time.
Yeah. And also not to be connected to my tribe, basically, to be an individual by myself. That's right, yeah. And so I just had to live out the rest of my days on my own. I was still we had these long buildings, very high buildings, and lots of chambers. There were lots of chambers everywhere. But it was all empty. They were gone, and I had no way of knowing where they had gone. For some reason, I got disconnected from them. And then it was near a beach, and then we went to the last day of that lifetime, and I actually saw like an angelic being, like a light blue being, welcoming me, helping me transitioning out of the body, which was beautiful because we wouldn't think of that maybe with insectoids. I know there are all these horror films of aliens that are big insects or something like that, but I didn't feel like that at all. It was really, really beautiful. So I got help transitioning out of my body. And the next lifetime was
Can I just say,
sure.
The blue ray, so the blue being is probably the second ray of love, and yes, because that's the ray that rules this planet, the second ray.
Yes.
So do carry on.
Absolutely, you're right, and that's very significant because when I did some breath work after making the film. Sometimes I join a breath work group, and sometimes old stuff comes up, you know, issues are being triggered or released from the body. And we went into one session about trauma, and it was quite a deep session, and I felt the presence of an insectoid being, maybe the same, really close to me with these huge eyes. They have huge eyes, usually insects. Yeah. But I felt a motherly energy, really caring. And it's something we don't usually connect or associate with insects. But I think every life form has an evolutionary path, and that being might have been from the 12th dimension or something like that.
Yes, exactly.
You know, so it really depends on what level of frequency you're at in your life form, rather than what life form you're in, you know. So that came again. I feel every now and again I feel that presence, and it's so totally benevolent, very high energy and beautiful. So when I really need help, like emotional help, that being is there, I feel. And yes, it must have been the same.
Because Dwell Call and Kutumi, you know, those masters, they're all on the second ray.
Yes, yeah. I don't know what ray I'm on, but I think we experience all rays at some point.
Yes, we have many, but in their different form.
Yes.
Individual.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. So that was the first lifetime, which was very relevant to this current lifetime of mine, this kind of getting separated, you know, this was a theme. So that's why this came up.
It's really interesting.
And then the second lifetime was, I was a part of a group of meditators, and we were meditating in a cave, and we had to absolutely focus our minds, and we were in a circle, and we would maintain light, like maybe a bowl of light or something, a light force in between us. We were inside the circle, and we had to take it in turns to keep it running. It was total mental focus and concentration. And if one left the group, another one had to go in, so to keep that light burning, basically. But I felt that it was a bit dark also, because it was just pure mental energy, and there was no heart involved. And I made the decision to leave that group. So I left. It was like a spiritual, maybe a cult, I don't know exactly. It was very secretive, very highly evolved mentally, but I left the group. It was my choice. I wasn't left behind, but I made the choice to leave. Sorry, yeah.
It sounds like a bit like in Atlantis, because they become very developed.
Yeah.
But it's like the Aquarius age, what we're going into.
Yeah.
If it's a mind ray, but unless it's connected with the heart, we must connect the mind with the heart. Yeah. So that whatever we do through love.
Yeah.
So yes, it's from what I understand, the consciousness, you was working with light, and I think it's like they talk about light workers now. We all work with light, but it's good to practice here, because people, when they die, they sometimes get stuck on the physical plane or the emotional, the astral plane, because they think they're their physical body, or they think they're their emotional body, or they think they're their mental body. But who we are, we're eternal beings of light, and love. We're birthless, deathless. You know, we've never been born, we've never died. Not who we truly are.
No,
so
that's
that's
right.
so interesting that you see that then.
So as I said, it felt quite dark, and I didn't agree with it. I like that, you know, it felt like the Jedis, you know, who develop their powers like in Star Wars, but for what aim, for what goal? So I left the group, and I didn't like it that I left them. And I wanted to live among the people, you know, the normal people. And the next scene I saw then was on a market somewhere. Nobody knew who I was. They didn't know I had these powers. And I just kept a low profile. But I felt like the light needs to be shared. Otherwise, it's for itself, you know, that there's nothing. If you can produce so much light in a group, you should use it for a good purpose, for humanity. So I just left the group and went incognito, but I was happy, and I was just friendly to people that didn't know who I really was, so that I had these powers. But I just said hello, people knew me there, and it was fine. And at that end of that life is when I went to a meadow outside the city to die, and it was my choice. So in that lifetime, I made choices, conscious choices, and so I left the group consciously, and I left my body when it felt it was time, and it was very easy. And I'd like to mention this because people are afraid of dying, you know, and it was really very easy. And I think being born is probably more traumatic and more difficult than leaving the body. Rather than coming in is much more difficult. So so that was the second life. And the third life she guided me to, she said, look down at your body, what can you see? I said, there is no body. I'm in between lives, you know, I'm not in a lifetime. This is not a lifetime. And I think this is when I met the light, what I called the light. And thinking back now, I think this was my higher self probably, or something else, who knows, but I felt it was me and it wasn't in a way. And the message was to be the light in the body, to bringing down our own light into this fractal, this personality, this lifetime, to be that, because we are connected to light. We just need to bring down more into here so we can spread it out, you know. So this is just the background, what happened to me. And yeah, so have you got any questions or thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think we do a lot more crying when we're born as babies than we do when we pass.
Yes.
And it's the process of being born. We leave the light to come here, and the way we do it is by falling asleep. And because we're such an immense, infinite being, we're part of the oneness, the infinite beingness of the light. When we're born, we come here into a state of sleep, and we dream ourselves awake, but only with a small aspect of ourselves. So we choose some particular aspect, personality to work through. And then when we return, we go back to the oneness. We get reconnected with all of us, the whole of ourselves, that part of us that we've forgotten. And I think that the way it's interesting that you found yourself as an ant, because we've got this idea that there is a strict regime, that you come in, there's time, you become this, you work your way up to this, to that, and you end up being a human being, as though this was the ultimate, which of course it isn't. It's like a sequence. It's like going through a syllabus prospectus in a university, and it's not like that at all. The light is I think there's curiosity in the light, and you can, when you're in it, you can sense more or less anything that you choose to experience. So you might think, well, I haven't been an ant. What? This seems interesting. I'll give it a go. There's, if you feel there's something to learn from it, or something to gain, or satisfy some curiosity, you could become anything you like. It doesn't matter. I don't think that we're on a regular route, and it's all mapped out. And I think the work of Dolores Cannon, she investigated by putting people into deep hypnosis, what she calls somnambulistic state. She was able to contact that part of the person that is in the unconscious, because the unconscious state is just being asleep. So she was able to interrogate the person's unconscious to find out things about them that they didn't know themselves.
That is exactly the procedure I had. This was based
Yes.
on the Dolores Cannon. That was quantum healing method.
Yes.
I don't know the whole name, is an abbreviation, but it was based on that. And the practitioner explained to me that she basically speaks to my higher self, but only if it's allowed. They always ask, do I have permission to speak, to you, so it's very much, it's very respectful, and you link to inner wisdom. Basically, we have all this wisdom within us, I don't mean in this body, within our energy field, you could say. That's exactly what I did, and that's why it took so long. It took like several hours, before it was finished.
What you said about people not knowing that they've died is interesting, because in the 70s, I was joined a psychic development group run by a medium called Albert Folk, who passed many years ago. And he could go into that deep trance state, and spirits would come through and talk to us. And I learned quite a lot then, because I had a scientific interest. The guides that came through were interested in talking to me about science, which upset some of the other sitters, I think, which was a bit unfortunate. So they stopped doing that. But when they would sometimes say, we've brought some people along who need help, and they would bring people through the medium for us to talk to who were lost in some way, either because they didn't know they were dead, or because they had some serious problem or health condition that they thought they still had, so they were still suffering from the symptoms, or all sorts of problems. He specialized particularly where there were people who'd lost their voice through cancer, or some had an operation, had their voice box removed, so they couldn't talk, and they couldn't talk in spirit because it was such an ingrained habit not to talk. that whoever was running the group would have to talk to the person through the medium and persuade them that they can speak. And it was quite painful. And well, one session, I was in charge. I was a bit young then, and I found it a bit daunting to be in charge. But anyway, they brought me a man who had been a terrorist bomber, and he thought his legs had been blown off in what happened, and they thought that there were a couple of them apparently, but because I couldn't talk to two of them at once, but we spoke to one of them, and I had to convince him that he was still alive, and also because these people particularly hated the English, and he had to accept help from an Englishman, which was the last thing he wanted. And all these factors, and it was painful and a hard experience, particularly at that age. But anyway, eventually we got through to him and put him in touch with the light, and we sorted him out. So, you know, and sometimes this sort of work goes on in secret all over the world. There are people doing this, and it's the only way some people who are stuck in the lower dimensions, who can't leave here and move forward, it's the only way they can get help is by help from us who are still here.
Yes, when you say alive, it passed over.
Well, he'd blown himself up.
But he was still living. That's what you're saying. Yes. I just wanted to make that a bit clearer.
Yes.
But,
he, as pure consciousness, he still existed, but he wasn't in his body anymore. No?
Well, he had a body that he created over there, but it was still deformed by the bomb.
Yeah.
That would be on the astral plane, wouldn't it?
Probably. Yeah.
What I find so interesting about this is usually when we go to a healer or to a medium or something like that, and we are put in connection with light or with spirits, we go there to receive something like a healing or a message or something. But it was the other way around. I found this fascinating, that the living, the one in a body, helps the one who is disembodied, you know, and so it can go both ways. We are helping each other. And I think with this work, we are co-creating something together. There are so many levels of healing happening. Him allowing himself to be helped by an Englishman. And who knows, you might have had a contract with him, who knows, in a previous life, all these things, and then the medium who made this possible was also a factor in all of this. And it's wonderful when we can co-create healing like that together, I think, you know.
Well, the thing is, we don't have bodies. Our bodies are a pattern of quantum digital information. The experience of all of it is in the light. We experience it over there. So it's not difficult to remember your form when you're there. But it's hard sometimes for some people. It's hard to forget and to move on and leave it behind.
Yes, because who we are is consciousness. And it's like when I study and read about the masters, it was like Sanat Kumara put his heart, his consciousness into our planet for 18.5 million years. Now the Buddha has taken over in, I think it was 1992, something like that. So he now holds the consciousness and his heart in our planet. So that means that they gather every soul's consciousness within their consciousness. Now, you know, we don't realize that who we are is consciousness and not bodies or whatever vehicle it is. We can have a planet as a consciousness. A logos is someone who embodies a huge or a large space. I don't know what a way to put that, but it's like our galactic logos is Melchizedek, one of the Melchizedeks. It goes higher as well. So he encompasses the galaxy.
So the
So
Milky
that
Way,
means-
we are in the Milky
yes.
Way galaxy, just for the viewers.
Yes.
Yeah. So the whole
So
Milky Way, yeah.
I mean, there's Melchior is also a master in our galaxy, but Melchizedek is the consciousness that embodies all that. This is where we're evolving to, if we want to become that, to create planets, universes, whatever. So that goes on and on and on till we're all one. Everything it's like the Russian dolls.
Yeah.
Everything is in the one. And so now where our consciousness was just on planet Earth, our consciousness is expanding to become aware of the stars and the solar system, the different planets. And so it's very important to realize that we are not our body, and that who we are is pure state of consciousness. And that consciousness is the source. And as we expand our consciousness, we expand that source within us, that love, that light.
Yes. We three have dealings fairly regularly with Theosophists, and in the book that Madame Blavatsky wrote, The Secret Doctrine, the first diagram in the proem is of a white disc with a dull background. She calls it an immaculate white disc. And the second diagram, a small point appears at the center of that disc. This is symbolic for being the light and then acquiring that small, infinitely small point in the light gives you individuality, or gives any entity individuality in the context of the light itself. So it allows the oneness to experience us as though it was us, but we're not really us. That small point is just literally, it's like saying, what is the point of this or the point of that? Well, the point of us is this point in the light that gives us this individuality. And you
could say that this point is like, what is the identity is a point of view, basically.
Yes.
We're looking at it from a different angle, and that's what identity is. It's a point of view.
Yes. Well, the whole of the oneness doesn't help if you want to experience individuality.
No,
because you're everything.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
bit pointless.
Yes.
Basically. No.
So you take on a point, and that divides your experience of the wholeness, the oneness, as though you were an individual. You're not really an individual, but it gives you you're part of the oneness that has an experience. So when you became an ant, you took on a point that was the structure of consciousness of the ant, and that allowed you as the oneness, the light, to experience the ant. So there we are.
Yeah, so when I became separated from my hive, that is similar to what you just described, when in the immaculate disc a point appeared. I was no longer part of the disc of my hive. I was a point all of a sudden. You know, I became aware that I had to rely on myself all of a sudden to find out what is self. You know, what is individuality? Can I exist without the others, without all the rest of the consciousness? You know, so it is similar. I experienced it differently, but this is kind of what you just described.
Yes.
Yes. Well, you see, it's more interesting if you think in terms of the ant colony or a hive of bees.
Yeah.
The point belongs to the hive or to the colony.
Mm.
So what happened there was you'd been functioning in the light, in the consciousness as an individual, as the hive. When you separated yourself, you became your own point.
Yeah. Mm.
That gave you individuality, which presumably led you into other forms of individuality.
That's right.
So
that's powerful, isn't it?
A group is an entity, and an individual is an entity.
True. True. Yeah.
So in your second life, what was your second life now?
That was when I was part of this meditation group.
Oh, that's
but
right.
it felt secretive and a bit dark, you know. They had really good powers, but it felt a bit off. So I don't want to be part of this, you know, even though I had these powers, you know, I could do it. But it was, you know, I don't know if you've heard, some people, they have such a sharp mind. They could, I knew someone who said to me, her male friend, could cut a banana inside the skin without cutting the skin, and then she would open the banana and it was cut. So it was so like a precision instrument, really. And that's what it felt like, being very precise. But what's the point of cutting a banana inside, you know? Can't you just use this for healing energy, or I don't know, or to make free energy devices, you know, or something like that? This is always what I find with every theory, every spiritual philosophy. If you can't live it, if you can't apply it for the good of all, then it's pretty pointless, you know. So
well, it's interesting because if you think people often get some sort of a drive in their lives to develop some aspect of themselves. And now the obvious, if you think about the physical side, I mean, you know, there's nothing wrong with developing yourself physically and being healthy. But if you have an obsession, say, about bodybuilding, and you spend your entire life building this wonderful body, then you die and leave it behind.
Yeah.
And what was all that effort given you in the next life? Absolutely nothing. Now, you could say the same about the mind, because if it's good to develop the mind, it's very useful. And meditating to develop the mind is a way of intelligence, is a way of doing it. But in the end, the only thing that you take with you is spiritual essence. So any practice that helps to develop your spiritual essence, which would be meditating not exclusively in the head, but in the heart, or in a holistic way, you know that what the effort you put in here then is going to help you when you pass beyond here. But to spend your entire life developing something that you're going to leave behind, and an objective finite consciousness, in a sense, is one of those things, because when you're totally immersed in the spiritual dimension, it's subjective mind, the consciousness of feeling of the heart and of the subjective aspect of mind, not the objective aspect. So it can be pointless exercise to work too hard on developing something that you're not going to take with you.
I
It's
think
not what you do, it's the way that you do it.
I just want to say, yeah, because I was thinking of some bodybuilders, maybe then they lost, I don't know, 100 pounds of weight and then build their body up, and they then are an example for many people to turn their lives around, and maybe they inspire
Yes,
others. You know, there might be more to it. I think
it builds character. Yes, I'm not saying
Yeah.
there isn't a benefit
And
in building the
also-
character, but
also I think depends why you do bodybuilding. You know, yes, we should look after the body while we're here. We were given this body, and the body is a temple. But are we identified with this? You know, is this all we are? You know, if we do it from that point of view, then it is pretty pointless, because we will have to leave it behind at some point. But while we can make the best of this and inspire others, that would be a completely different story. And that can be done through the body as well, because I also think that the body is often a reflection of ourselves as well. You know, it's just how we look at it. I think that's how I would say it. You know, if we identify with the body that we are just this, or if we know that we are not the body, but we are making the most of this lifetime, that's different, you know. So for me,
Yes, also it's like the greatest teacher is suffering. So, you know, and it's normally the pain body, and so it's in the body, and that often drives people to much higher things.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, you know, yoga, if you do yoga, you're developing the body, but you're developing the spiritual powers if you have the right teacher. So, you know, it's so important, isn't it? What your aim is.
Yeah, that's right.
So what was your next life? What was the next one? The third
well, then the third one was there was no lifetime, you know. She expected
that's right.
one.
You was in the light.
Yeah, and she I think maybe
That's
she was a bit
wonderful.
surprised. I don't know if it happens often, but is this no lifetime? There is no body. What do you see? Tell me what you see. And well, can you go to the last day? I said, there is no last day. You know, there is. It
No
was
time.
like, huh?
No time.
She said, because usually they said they guide you to a lifetime that is relevant for you at this moment to learn something, and then we look around what's there, which I did, and then they often the therapist would say, go to the last day or to the last moment of that lifetime. And she did that, but I said, there is no last day. It's not a lifetime. It's in between lives, you know. It's not the physical existence, you know.
When you're in that space, you're in the now, so you're in eternity.
Absolutely, yeah. I was there, and it was. I mean, I was very moved. I mean, my voice was quite shaken when I spoke. I mean, it was so much love came through as well, and so if we can have that so quickly. By going to a session, we could have this by ourselves as well, I think, if we just knew how to do it, you know. So
be wonderful. Yeah. That's a wonderful experience to be in the light. It's like the galactic Melchizedek, the master Melchizedek. It says he's available for the asking, that he would teach people how to work with the light.
Okay.
You know, I think that would be wonderful to be able to do that. You're obviously a advanced being, you know, and it's great that you've got that thing. You've had that experience of those past lives like that.
Yeah.
I mean, we've lived and died hundreds, probably thousands of times, or whatever, in this body, on this cycle where on planet Earth, where we're evolving.
Yeah.
Because they say we're children of God. It says in the Bible, ye are gods and know it not. Well, what does that make us? So we are developing, we're here, and people are evolving on all different levels, you know, but we're here to grow in understanding of goodness. I mean, it was like Socrates, wasn't it? I feel he was like a master of light. I mean, he spoke about that. It's so important about consciousness and to be like, how can we evolve to be good to humanity?
Yeah.
And he never attacked or blamed, did he?
But even beyond, I would say, for me, the experience was also to be in an insectoid body. You become aware of tolerance, you know, because I can't judge anyone by their looks, and that includes insectoid beings, you know, or other beings. But we have these archetypes in our heads also. I mean, there are lots of different people talk about aliens, extraterrestrials, and these are the good ones and these are not the good ones. I think we have to be a bit careful with that and really assess everyone individually, what their intentions are, and depends on what level they are, you know, how much they worked on themselves.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, just because they look nice and are all light, that could just be a cover, you know, as far as I'm concerned. And you know, and even there's stories in, I think in Buddhism or something, that, or in Hinduism, that there's like a beggar and he's really diseased and he sits there in the street and nobody likes him. He's quite ugly, but he's actually a master, you know. And so you never know, you know, who you always have to really look who you've got in front of you. That was a good lesson for me from having had the memory of having been an insectoid, you know. So
yes, because we could say channel, because we're receiving and giving out all the time, but every channel, it's all according to how much they're cleansed or what they know or what they've cleared in their life. I've forgotten it. No, it's gone.
About tolerance, it doesn't more that
no, it wasn't. It wasn't about tolerance. It'll come back, but not now. Have you got anything you can think of?
Not immediately.
No, carry on, Desiree.
No, so tolerance was for me a learning curve in this, and not to be too attached to being human. You know, we can identify ourselves as being human, and when then aliens come, we could either think they're good aliens or bad aliens, they're the enemy, but they're different. But you know, I could say I'm a woman, and then I could go into feminism, and it's a worthwhile cause. I don't doubt that, but just saying we could become too attached to our specificity, whatever that is. Could be human, could be old, could be overweight, could be young, could be whatever, you know, skin color. And we could identify too much with it, and we should never judge a book by its cover, you know. To really listen to what this person has to say and where they're coming from, in whatever shape or form they're appearing, you know.
I understand that the extraterrestrials, all those different beings from different star planets, all these people that are talking about this, these are different aspects of ourself. This has been in my teachings and training, because I've had a lot of teachers over my years. And, you know, so they come in because they're different aspects of us. So we just need to embrace them in our love. Yeah. And I think if they are negative, they are aspects of that person's consciousness.
Absolutely. I agree.
They are not really negative, because everything eventually, because in truth, everything is love. Everything is built on love. Yeah. Through science, isn't it? We know that it's through the math and through love. We couldn't exist. We're born for it. We live here, though it doesn't feel like it at times. You know, we go through pain and suffering, but, you know, our capacity to love is absolutely amazing.
That's why I feel in that regression session that the light I saw was kind of me as well, or I'm connected to it. Yes. And the same with the this angelic being in light blue, that was also me. You know, it's something. Yes. When I say me, there are different levels of looking at it. I think there are many fractals that are in different lifetimes, and then there's a higher self who can oversee all of them. And I'm kind of aware of that there is a connection to these other lives. I'm connected to them, and I could how can I say? It depends how I define myself. Do I define myself as this one soul that reincarnates, or do I define myself as this higher self who has different experiences at the same time? And while having these experiences, we agreed not to remember all of it so that we can experience it. So, yeah. And I think if there's something we reject, as you said, Joan, it's something we reject in us, and it's just put to our attention in front of us in the shape of another person or an alien or whatever, you know, or an event, you know. But it's something, if it triggers us, it's also within us. So, yeah.
Because I see it like, you know, I've got lots of crystals hanging at the window, and they've got all these different little facets to them. You know, they've all got all these little different, and they all beam and shine. But that's like us, who we are, is we're multi-dimensional beings. So we have these soul extensions, and then extensions off of them to the monad, where all of those, it's like those aspects of us can be living on other planets.
Absolutely, absolutely.
There can be some aspects here. So this is what I'm saying about these, what they talk about, these ETs or different things from these different planets. They're aspects of ourselves. And so what I feel that what humanity is moving towards now is integrating these aspects of ourselves, you know, welcoming them, and so that we keep expanding and expanding and expanding in our consciousness, in our love and understanding of the cosmic universe. I mean, the creation is amazing. The beauty of the planet, you know, just so wonderful.
This is wonderful. I think that might be a good place to bring today's meeting to a close. Any final words from anyone? Anything you'd like to share before we close this session for today?
I just want to give thanks for sharing and with us doing this together. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
For me.
Same here. Same here. And I would like to thank also our viewers
Yes,
for liking our videos, and
yes.
very welcome, and we enjoy broadcasting. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Desiree.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.